That morning, the air at Incheon International Airport was colder than usual. A gust of wind from the direction of the sea brought the aroma of metal and fine dust mixed with the bustle of thousands of steps. But amid the crowd of passers-by, there was one point that became the center of the world's attention: the international departure gate, where a young man in a simple black jacket and army cap stood looking down, holding back something that not even the cameras could capture: the weight of separation. The man was Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, and that day was the day of his departure for active military service. However, no one expected that the moment that initially looked formal and full of tight schedules would turn into an event that made thousands of soldiers and fans on site shed tears. Because among the crowd of heavily guarded ushers, a person appeared at a calm pace, dressed in a soldier's uniform and a hat with the logo of a special division. Someone who wasn't even scheduled to show up there that day. He is KimTaehyung, a friend and brother who is more than just a group mate. An announcement, no notice. Reporters' cameras were even silent for a moment when the figure appeared from the side of the corridor. Only the sound of a silent scream from an army first realized who the man was. "That's Taehyung. That's V," she screamed, before the atmosphere turned into a mixture of silence and hysteria. Taehyung walked slowly, as if his every step carried the weight of the next 2 years. He smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. Perhaps because behind the dark glass of his military glasses, there is something deeper than just a sense of pride. There is a fear, longing, and a sense of loss that only a person who knows what it means to release a person into a world as heavy as the one he has lived. Jungkook, who was initially busy looking down, suddenly turned his head when he heard a familiar voice. The voice was quiet, but full of Taehyung's signature firmness. Jungkook. Just 2 words, but enough to bring the atmosphere around them to a standstill. The airport officials who were originally focused on organizing the queue suddenly stared at the 2 figures, realizing they were witnessing something that might be a historic moment. Taehyung stood in front of Jungkook, no more than a meter away. They stared at each other without a word. The world around them seemed to stop. No cheering, no screaming fans. Only the rustle of the wind and the sound of the camera slowly began to sound again, capturing every second of this unplanned meeting. Taehyung nodded slowly. "I can't stay long," he said, his voice quiet, but the vibrations were clearly audible in the microphone of the camera recording. "But I can't let you go without looking." That simple sentence alone was enough to make some of the young soldiers around them look down, holding back emotions. They know how difficult it is to get permission to leave the military headquarters. The fact that Taehyung could be there meant something special: permission, perhaps, or even the risk he took himself for the sake of coming to see the younger brother he was about to release into the same disciplinary terrain. Jungkook looked down, and his tears just fell. He tried to hide his face with a mask, but the camera caught everything. He bit his lip, then suddenly stepped forward, hugging Taehyung with a force that made both bodies shake slightly. The atmosphere at the airport changed completely. The soldiers who were on guard at the side of the corridor looked down. Some even seemed to be wiping their eyes silently. Taehyung patted Jungkook's back slowly. There were no words for a few seconds, just a hug that felt like a silent conversation between 2 hearts that understood the meaning of loss and sacrifice. Jungkook shivered slowly, not because of the cold, but because of the emotions that had accumulated over the weeks. "I'm afraid, Hyung." The sentence sounded softly between his trembling shoulders. "I'm afraid I can't be as strong as you." Taehyung took a deep breath, then lowered his head slightly, whispering something that not everyone could hear. But some reporters with sensitive microphones managed to capture the snippet of the word. "You don't have to be me, Kook. You just have to stay who you are. The world will wait." Instantly, social media exploded. Those words became viral quotes across the platform, combined with a snippet of a video of Jungkook crying in Taehyung's arms. Armies around the world wrote the same lines on their timelines, marking the moment as one of the most emotional farewells in modern K-pop history. But what happens on location is deeper than just a viral scene. After the hug, the 2 remained silent for a few seconds, before Taehyung let go quietly. Jungkook looked at Taehyung like a child who didn't want to be separated. The gaze was not between 2 superstars, but between 2 brothers who had grown up together since adolescence. Laughter, stage, pressure, and tears. The military officer on duty called Jungkook's name in a firm voice, a sign that the departure time was approaching. Jungkook nodded, then bowed deeply, not only to Taehyung, but to all the soldiers present. He knew from that day on, he would stand on the same side as them, no longer as an idol, but as part of the Republic of Korea Army. Before actually turning around, Jungkook held Taehyung's shoulder tightly. "Please wait for me, Hyung. I'll be right back. I promise." Taehyung smiled a little, then answered in a voice that was barely audible, but managed to be recorded by the camera at close range. "I've been waiting for you, Jungkook. Always." Instantly, the sound of restrained cheers echoed throughout the airport. Fans watching from afar wept openly, while some of the young soldiers even saluted Jungkook before he actually entered the boarding area. One of them was seen shedding tears, then said to his partner, "I don't know why, but it was like watching my own brother leave." And sure enough, that day wasn't just about the departure of an idol, but about the journey of a young boy who brought hope, friendship, and love that transcended the stage. Taehyung stood in the same spot for several minutes after Jungkook disappeared behind the door. He stared blankly at the boarding lane, then closed his eyes. Behind the lenses of his glasses, the tears that had been held back finally fell. An officer approached him quietly, whispering, "Thank you for coming, Sergeant Kim." It was an incredible moment. Taehyung nodded without saying anything. He knew that in the military, emotions often had to be hidden. But that day, everyone in Incheon knew. Not even the green jersey could cover up such a human feeling, a sense of loss, a sense of pride, and a genuine love between two figures who were already considered legends. But before he left, someone from HYB's management approached, handing over his cell phone that had been left. "You have a message from Jungkook," he said quietly. Taehyung opens the message, just one short sentence. "Don't let the world change without me." He smiled, a smile that this time really reached his eyes. He looked up at the pale blue Incheon sky and muttered quietly, "I won't let you, Kook. I promise." As he walked out of the airport, thousands of cameras were still looking at his back, but Taehyung didn't look up. He knew their story wasn't over. It was just beginning a new chapter that was quieter, louder, but also more meaningful. And for some reason, in the cold air of that morning, many felt like they were witnessing something that would be remembered for many years to come.